This is the anniversary of Kent State, and this date in 1970, I was stationed in Long Beach. My ship was in dry dock, getting ready to go back to Vietnam. I had already been there once, and I had filed the paperwork as a conscientious objector not to have to go back, but those processes take forever in the service, so I was still on hooks as far as where I was going to be. And then the news about Kent State came in. It took me about 3 years to really absorb that event and a lot of the things surrounding it, and pen some memories of Dick Nixon. 1. The 4th of July is near, the Day of Independence. Sensing this, knowing this, the President has declared that he has decided, once again, freedom is for all. Sensing this, knowing this, the President has freed your sons from life and your daughters from their minds. The maimed and dying, too, are free except from pain. Freedom does have its price, after all. 2. Do you know then how a bomb works? Have you seen then what a bomb does? What counts here has little to do with buildings. We've all seen the films of 1940 London. But deals instead with flesh, its compression by shock waves, its smell in flames and after, its penetration by hot metal shards. If you have, how can you let it go on, endlessly repeated like an old horror movie on TV? And if you haven't, why are you so anxious for the lesson? 3. Dick Nixon, when we said you should take up a hobby like Ike, Jack, and Lyndon had done, bombing our brothers from B-52s wasn't quite what we had in mind. Cambodian mother, this is the children's crusade. The crusade against your children. Though the targets are weapons and the grown men who bear them, even a bomb makes mistakes now and then. We saw this in I Corps, we saw this in the North, and even then it was nothing new. We see it now in your holy land, the Mekong, made sacred with their blood. 5. This is not the only land, the bomb-struck Asian place, and this is not the only death, this clawing at the flesh, though perhaps for all concerned more merciful. Another land is rotting, and rot is such a slow death. Some are fortunate, and numbness comes quickly. Some know less mercy, and yet their prayers will never seek it for their pains, but for those of others. Lynn and I used to be breeders of Bernese Mountain Dogs. We did that for about 20 years and about a score of litters. And when you breed conscientiously and really pay attention to what you're doing, even then things don't always go smoothly. And with a lot of the litters, you're going to lose at least one pup. It's just the odds of breeding domesticated animals. And from that comes this elegy, or at least its inspiration. Dig the small grave and place the smaller body so, just so. The chill May rain and the warm human tears falling on her head will serve for the ritual washing of this pup, barely 2 days old. Some future digger after truth, alien or human, kneeling with trowel and brush at this grave will note in clear, careful script the wonder that a people would be so deliberate with the smallest of their God's creatures and so careless of themselves. Okay. Jasmine is a collection from a couple years ago of prose poems. Although if I wrote them properly and read them properly, the fact that they're prose poems doesn't mean anything except on the page. Lexington, Kentucky does a poetry month every June, and one of the publishers there organizes it and does all the mechanics behind it, and most of these poems come from that 30 poem and 30-day experience. Lilith. There is lightning in the high clouds to the north, but distance cancels the thunder. The flashes reach me, but the cycle is incomplete. The sky turns darker, eclipses the healing moon and stars. I am the first emigre, the first immigrant woman. I leave as a stranger, I arrive the same. With no husband, no sons, the cycle is incomplete. The clouds roll closer, the air cools and turns electric. My daughters and I speak our only language and are damned. We eat the only food we know and we are cursed. We would belong, but the cycle is incomplete. The distance closes. Thunder makes the children turn in their sleep. My labor is required but undervalued. My wisdom is needed but never sought. Our bodies are desired and then discarded. The cycle is incomplete. Silence drops, is suddenly carried away by 1,000 fingers drumming. The rain falls, warm and soft, carrying hope and salvation, but the ground is hard. The promise is rejected, flows in gutters, and the cycle is incomplete. I really didn't know much of anything about Lilith before I wrote that poem. That was one of those cyber rabbit holes that I fall down at 2 o'clock in the morning when I get curious about something, and it ends up after a half hour of looking through everything, I find myself in a whole different part of the universe, and there I learned about Lilith. Jazz me. Start me deep with jungle rhythms, add sugar cane and soils containing languages we'll learn to soothe the scarred. Give me baptism by fires in the darkest of the night, and then escape with me. While our others follow missionary tracks and black motes noted on white sheets, we will fix on fusion. We will find the star stuff in each free improvisation. I will riff your body with my fingers, bring forth emanation with my lips, while you pluck counternotes and melodies to see us off this stage, beyond percussive endings, deep in God. Summer Solstice was, at least initially, pretty much a blank description of an evening in the suburbs after sundown. Gauzy strips of high cloud let the lover's moon tease as Venus lies distant in the late night of a new season. Mars receded weeks ago, having altered the cosmology of this insignificant world. Coyotes howl back at fire engines, answering a call out on the state 4-lane. Dogs lying on decks or sprawled on the cool concrete aprons of garages take the world as normal, but the house is still. If the slap of a suitcase clothing, try that again. If the slap of a suitcase closing or a door slamming is the echo of alone, what is the sound count of goodbye? Is it human in its making? Or can it be the season word buried in endless haiku about change, the death of the invisible but intangible? Only a fool believes the sound of one hand clapping can be doubled for long. Only the untried have faith in phoenixes or any hope of rebirth. Arbor and Winepress was partially a gift to myself. I started writing back in 1962 when I got introduced to the work of Carl Sandburg. There were no high school or college courses in poetry back then. I was a sophomore in high school when this all started. and my work has been in print since 1965, so after 50 years I decided, what the heck? Let's assemble some things that haven't seen the light of day other than their first appearance. The book itself is not in the order the poems were written, but in the order they were published, because at least one of them took 19 years to find a place to call home. And we'll get to that one. It's the title poem. To Grandmother's House. Through the lilac crossroads into Keys Canyon and across the San Luis Rey River Bridge, a flat, dry riverbed. And nearby, an old woman with the sun in her skin sells oranges. Snow White speaks in the Confessional. Beginning of the century, I was mostly writing fiction, short fiction. And an awful lot of it was the ever afters of Grimm's fairy tales. Some of that finally made its way into poetry as time went on. So, Snow White speaks in the Confessional. We made my father's witch wife dance inside the stone-dry woods fire. It's how we dealt with treason then. My heart so filled with hate, I thought nothing of it, but felt proud to throw a faggot at her feet. Now, brothers and mendicant friars say, I must repent, regret, remorse. Truly, I understand forgiveness, but how can I let go what I cannot forget? I, not they, dream at night of sweet, wet fruit besmirched to carry me near death's dull path. Father, forgive me, for I have sinned. And Father, please forgive me, for I know not what it is I've done. Okay, Arbor and Winepress. If you take the time to look at the cover, there's a sketch by Fra Bartolomeo from 16th century of an Italian landscape featuring, off in one corner, an arbor and a wine press. Back when I was going through grad school up here at Northeastern, I was also working down in Blue Island. So I would get off the classes. I had time to kill before my shift started. I'd go to the library. And one day I was looking through a book of art prints, just at random. And voila, another rabbit hole. And like I say, Arbor and Winepress took about 19 years to find somebody who thought it was worth printing. This is where you brought me when we wed. I, 15 and not yet quick with child, though filled with longings passed down by my mother and her own. You, 18 and poorly educated to a life not set before you in the halls your father brought the tutors to. The copse of trees is thinner now, as is my life these years alone. The room in back where we first took each other with an innocent savagery bordering rape is mine alone, a shrine holding memories that end with you. At the gate, our oldest son and his son, a Tom that came to clear the mice and stayed when they were done, a wine press calling forth the joy of life. The mist grape is as fruitless as imagined lives without this place. Okay. I don't know how. I lived in the suburbs all my life, since I was a year old. I was born in Chicago, but I have no recollection of it as such. Out in my world, at least, Walmarts are almost as common as Walgreens used to be. And for those of us out there, at least, it's a regular stopping place with all of its flaws and all of its social and cultural faults. Convenience is something of an issue. 3 in 1. She has that look, that burned out, what the hell am I doing at Walmart on Saturday morning with 3 kids look. That, geez, I'm tired, can I just lie here in the aisle and take a quick nap before I fall apart look. And then the oldest makes the youngest laugh. And then the middleist says, Mommy, I love you. And she gets that other look. Old woman with photograph. I'm extremely fond of artwork and photographs as a source of inspiration for poems. I am not academically trained. My degrees out of Northeastern, both my bachelor's and my master's, are in social sciences, as they lumped them all together back then. Primarily political science and sociology. I've taken the standard college writing courses, none of which in the 70s included more than Shakespeare as poets. So I don't know how to write on demand. I don't know how to do the things that some of my peers who are more academically inclined seem capable of.
But you're so good at it.
Well, thank you.
You are so good at it.
Thank you. But it doesn't come as Donna Voyer, those of you who know Donna, or Kristen Latour. They will sit and they will write a collection, not just a chapbook, around a central theme. A, I get bored doing that. I get terribly bored doing that. And B, it would take me forever. So I rely on ekphrastic sources a lot. This is a photograph from London in 1943, early 1944, of a woman dancing with an American airman. It's called Old Woman with Photograph. My husband was fighting in Italy. I have a photograph, him marching, taken on the road from the beach. I hadn't seen him for 6 months and didn't see him for another 7. You were in London on a weekend pass. I have a photograph, us dancing, taken when my friends and I stepped out. I'd never seen you before that evening, and I never saw you after it. I know the rest of my husband's story. I have boxes of photographs, us laughing, holidays with the children, their weddings. He passed a week before turning 80, and my love for him is still as strong. But of you, my handsome young Yankee pilot, I only have that photograph, us laughing. A corner of my faithful heart is still yours. No danger to my husband or our children. And I think I'd rather that were all of the story I knew. Sucker bet. I'll always remember, you say. I'll never forget, you promise. You think so? Care to make a little wager? 10 years from now, you won't recall why we parted. Come 20, and you can't envision me deep inside you in your heart. And in the next 5 heartbeats, you'll start to forget this final kiss. Okay, the last of the 3 books that I had intended to introduce you to before I realized that Kent State should really start out the program is this year's Poems Against Cancer. April, National Poetry Month, 30/30s. I do a fundraiser for St. Baldrick's, which is the largest funder outside the U.S. government of research into childhood and young adult cancers. People make a donation to St. Baldrick directly. I write 30 poems, they get 1 every day, and at a certain level of donation, whopping $20, they get a chapbook that I print and assemble and staple at home. This is the 5th year I've done it, and we've raised a few $1,000s doing it. Few, if any, of the poems have ever had anything to do with cancer itself. It just seemed a good title for something for a fundraiser like that. A picture from Aleppo. The bone-colored buildings gleam, reflecting the heat of the high sun, recalling a younger, peaceful time. First glances are deceptive. Closer looks show something missing. Here and there a window pane shines, but almost all the glass is gone now. All the window frames shattered. Tattered curtains hang like flags, shifting little in the fitful breeze. Inside the apartment, shadow rules. Having nowhere to go, broken walls and blocks of ceiling are now a floor. Dust covers everything, waits silent for further bombardments to lift it. Only the man sitting on the bed, suit worn but clean, shoes polished, seems exempt from the dust or any shadow. He and the wind-up Victrola, black vinyl spinning the pastoral through pipe smoke. Notes from a Tuesday evening. My wife's mother is 91, now she's going to be 92 in October, and we've taken to taking her to bingo to try to keep her active. Sometimes we manage to get her out of the house and off to the church to do it. Sometimes we don't. But that's what Tuesday evenings have become about. 1, playing bingo in a church basement. There's no contradiction here. We believe drops of common water, somehow transformed by the words of a mortal being in a dead language, will make us worthy to be winners. We gamble there's a God above us who, on a good day, will likely forgive us. And we think of it as the right number called just when you think you've lost. 2, they're not all geriatrics, silver-haired, just as there's an element of jealousy in the words of the otherwise gentle when someone else shouts that holy word. In this most random of gaming pastimes, so far removed from influence or skill, it's easier to mumble ill will at others than believe Lady Luck and dear Jesus have gone deaf, dumb, and blind to us. 3, why don't they make square markers sized just to fit the numbered boxes? Think of the benefit to those with OCD, twice bedeviled by rounds and rectangles and the inability to properly organize the numbers. 4, like a bad blind date, over the course of a few hours we go from hoping to get lucky to wishing the evening would end. Late Sunday morning. Last night's rain has frozen, silvering the rose of Sharon, but for one crown-like pod husk, enclosed in a dome of clear ice. Seated on the brown leaf mold, a chipmunk chirps its gratitude for the peanuts you gifted it. Chores complete, you lie down on the thick, soft mattress we share. Your dress, gray with rust bodice, reflects the old walls of this room, the aged timbers in the fireplace wood rack. Work stains on your neck and cheeks remind me of tavern shadows flowing with the swirl of a flamenco dancer. But in your sleep you call to mind a trumpeter, beak buried in feathers. On the nightstand, a magazine, left open to the picture of a woman as freshly young as you once were. She leans against a law wall, strokes a flower in her hair, and wants to look like you. Gunplay. This is after a photograph called Cops and Robbers taken in 1938 in Harlem by the photographer Helen Levitt. And it was shifted in time. It was 2002, a new century in a New York that didn't look all that different to us. Cops and robbers, cowboys and Indians, our fathers and uncles played the same on these same stoops and streets, silver revolvers, black automatics, dodging from cover to cover, brave, always beating the bad guys by dinner. Nobody was deafened by explosions. Nobody bled out unstoppably fast. Nobody came home filled with demons. And then it was 2012, a new decade in an ancient, embattled Afghanistan, really no different from our uncle's Iraq, our grandfather's southeastern jungles. The landscape of our hell doesn't matter, nor do the colors of the flags and guns that come together over differences. The explosions thunder through dreams that make our hearts stop, frozen in the shadows of man unkind's devils. And at the end of the day, nobody wins. Okay, I will leave you with one last thing, along with my thanks for your attention and for being here. I'm looking forward to hearing what you all have to read. Sometimes I dream of you as a cinematographer recording the streets of 1913 Tokyo. People look up from their labors, self-conscious as you do yours, then return to what they were about, but only half attentively, glancing to see if the novelty of you remains. Crowds gather, children squeezing between adults to see you better. Even as police try to bring order, move them from street to sidewalk. The street cleaner and the carter collide while watching you, coming to half-hearted blows for your amusement. Never has there been such a wonder, a world-shifting glimpse into the possible future. Again, thank you very much.